Hey everyone, it's Dot, and I know this is the time of year we all start making our resolutions for how we're going to be healthy in the coming year. One of my resolutions, or I should say goal, I prefer goals to resolutions, is to eat more at home. That means I have to cook more at home. This past year was a bit of a disaster for us and we were eating out way too much. So I'm making that change. And I thought it would be good because there are other people who are just getting into ketogenic eating and you're looking for cooking ideas, different recipes and meals. And I thought it would be good to take a look at what are the types of tools you actually need in your kitchen so that you can make really good meals and that you'd want to and they'd be tasty. So let's get to it. The first thing I think you should have in your kitchen, which to me is one of the most important things, and you should make it a little bit of an investment in it. And I'm outside of DC, and usually when people talk about investment, they mean spend money. So what I have here are two knives that I use, and these are actually Christmas presents I got from my husband. These are Shun Knives, and I have here a paring knife and also a chef knife. Now, a paring knife you simply use for a little bit more finer work. Peeling, it's perfect for peeling. So like if you're trying to take off the top of a strawberry, for example, the green part, the stem. It's a lot easier to do it with a paring knife because you won't lose as much of the flesh of the fruit compared to if you use the chef's knife, which is, you know, sort of bring a sledgehammer to do the job for you. My chef's knife has a lot more weight to it, so it's used for slicing, dicing, chopping. It's just a wonderful all-around knife you want to use. Shun makes this guarantee for you, which is basically you buy their knives and at no cost to you, you send them back to them and they'll gladly sharpen them for you, which is an awesome thing that they provide you. We actually have another Shun. We've had this for about 16 years. It's a serrated knife, and we actually use this for carving our roast, our turkey, whole chickens. Yeah, you can use it for cutting bread, but we don't eat bread anymore, so we use it for carving meat instead. Yay! I did knives, so the next important thing you should have in your kitchen is a chopping board. And actually, you probably should have more than one chopping board. What I have here is, this one is for my fruits and vegetables. The bottom one is for all my meats, especially a big turkey, a big old chicken, the roast that I made, the 3-boned rib roast that I made. And this one is for smaller cuts of meat, and also fish I use with this too. I want to try to keep the fruits and vegetables away from the boards I use where I'm cutting raw meat up. You don't want that contamination. I'm using wooden boards. I found that whenever I use plastic boards, while they're certainly cheap, I found I had to throw them out a lot more often than I do the wood ones. The plastic ones, once you start making those grooves and those cuts in them, they get harder and harder to clean, and that's where you can get a lot of bacteria in. The advantage you have with them is that you can certainly wash them in the dishwasher. These, we don't. These boards, if you can see, it's sort of checked and it's made out of pieces of wood and it's sort of basically put together, is that when you see these grooves or these lines, one of the things you use to protect your wood and so that you can preserve it and use it over and over again is you put an oil on it. It absorbs the oil more intensely when it has these lines in it. The other thing is when you're dealing with wood, because wood can warp, is that if you only use one side, you wash both sides because you need them to be wet equally because the water will evaporate eventually, it'll dry out, but that way you prevent warping, which that's how we've worked previous boards that we used before in the past. The other thing I will say is with this one, which is Epicurean, I am not sure what this is made out of. My husband probably does. Try as we may, we've never been able to get this thing to stain. This is a tough little board that we really love using. And I don't think it cost us that much when we picked it up. Cast iron, I definitely recommend, as well as non-stick. We have a Lodge skillet that we use. It's our biggest skillet that we have. The nice thing about this is my husband does all the seasoning for it, so it has a nice little coat on it. What I love about the Lodge is you can start on your stovetop and it works wonderfully in the oven because it holds its heat. You can also use it on the grill too if you'd like. The one thing about using it on the stovetop that I found is that it's not uniformly hot all over the place. It definitely holds heat and it definitely gets hot, but certain spots won't be as cooked as others. But once you get into the stove, you won't have that problem. As for non-stick, I have a couple of saucepans. I've got a skillet, I got a saucer, which is what this is. Non-stick pans are really, really tough for us because you start having all the cracking and peeling at the bottom because the coating on it just starts coming up. And we have a little bit of that, if you can see here, along the sides. at here, but I don't cook there. I'm not as worried about that right now. However, the nice thing about this, what we find with the green pans, is we haven't had that problem with the bottoms at all. You look at this one's actually in better shape. And this is more for me dinging my dang utensils on the sides, and that's a bad thing for me to do. We did put a little bit of money into buying these pots and pans. We found that the standard $25, $30 pan or pot that is nonstick that we would buy at Bed Bath & Beyond, typically was my place I'd buy them at, would maybe last us 4 to 5 months. And once the coat starts peeling off, you know, we'd have to chuck it. We were spending so much money in a year. I think I had 1 year where I bought 4 different frying pans. That was more than over $100 total. And so I could just buy one of these that's lasted me for 2 years. So, you know, you treat them well, they'll last you for a lot longer than some of the cheap stuff that's out there. If you need to make bulk foods or just cook a lot at one time, I can't recommend enough casserole dishes. And this is my favorite one. This is my Lodge Dutch oven that I use. And it's just wonderful, and also is very low cost. I do love that about Lodge. Theirs tend to run at a lower cost than anybody else, and they're just as good. If you open it up, you'll see in here it's a bit stained because that just means it's been used, and that's just a nice little character of this pot. You treat these guys well, and they will last you a long, long time. And then this baking dish I love. It's clay on the inside, and it's enamel on the outside. To me, it just bakes evenly in the oven. I don't really have any cold spots or spots that are undercooked. I've had casserole dishes that would do that. It's really annoying. It's a good way to cook in bulk for your family. Measuring tools are essential to any low-carb or ketogenic kitchen. You don't want to overeat your carbs, and it's real easy to if you're trying to eyeball everything. So I always have my measuring cups, my measuring spoon, and my scale on hand. And when you do have a scale, you want to make sure it can change measurements. So you can do ounces, you can do milliliters, grams, or pounds. You want to make sure it has that capability. Keep these handy. You want to keep them at the ready. You don't want to hide them away. It's so easy to overeat the amount of carbs or just eat a lot more calories than you're intending to. Graters. I absolutely love and use my box grater I think virtually every day, primarily for cheese, but I also use it for zesting my citrus, and I'll use it for slicing. There's a slicer right here that's very, very sharp, as I found out the hard way. But you can get things really, really finely grated, medium-sized grate, or obviously large, and this is perfect. Now, I do have other graters. Some of them you don't necessarily need if you have this, such as my microplane, but it is nice just to pull this out if I'm zesting an orange or I'm zesting a lemon, because, you know, it's less to wash than my box grater. And then I do have these other tools, which is I use a peeler. I have a serrated peeler, which basically is great for the either slippery or waxy types of fruits or vegetables, like for example, tomatoes. You can peel a tomato with this. And then I have my julienne blade, which basically is a way for me to make zoodles. They're pretty low cost, great to have in a kitchen, and you just want to be careful with them to make sure you don't cut yourself, but they're really effective and great to just quickly peel or julienne or grate whatever you're trying to do. Clearly, this list is not in any particular order. I didn't number anything, and if I did, this would be so far up the list. I absolutely love the slow cooker. And what can I say? You put everything in it, you plug it in, set the timer, and you can leave your house. And when you get home for dinner, it is already cooked for you, and you just have deliciousness waiting. This is wonderful. I will say with slow cookers has been my experience. My very first one I got from my parents when I moved out, and I adored that thing. It cooked everything perfectly to the time. If it was on a low heat, it cooked at a low heat. If you put it to high, it cooked at a high heat. And it broke, unfortunately, after about 20 some years. And I have struggled to find a really good slow cooker that does exactly that. If you put it on low and you put it on low for 8 hours, you're going to have perfectly cooked meats or stews or whatever you're making. Versus if you put it at high for 3 to 4 hours, you'll have perfectly cooked foods. This one does it, and this is my KitchenAid, and I absolutely love this. It took me a long time, and I went through a lot of different slow cookers that shall not be named. This is a wonderful, wonderful tool you need to have in your kitchen. You need a baking tray and a roasting tray. Now we're going to talk about the roasting tray first. You want 2 handles that you can take care of. You want it big enough so you can cook either a chicken, a turkey, or a large roast. And the nice, wonderful thing you want to look for too is something that can go in the oven as well as on the stove top, so you can finish sauces and gravies that come out of the meats that you're making. Also, you want a rack because it just makes it easier to put your meat on. You can certainly just take the rack out instead and put in a bed of vegetables too. But these are wonderful to have, especially around the holidays when we're making a big piece of meat. Next up, your baking tray. Baking trays are really versatile to use. You can cook fish on them, you can roast vegetables on them, or you can just use a recipe for drop scones and bake with it. The problem I've always had with these is that when they go into the kitchen, you'd hear, or in the oven, you hear a loud pop at some time while they're cooking. And that's because the pan would just warp. It would straighten itself out, but I found that over time, my pans would never be the same after it warped that first time. So what you want to do is you want to get a heavier baking tray that actually has steel inside of the rim, and that stops it from actually warping in your oven. Little tip there that I found out, and I'm sharing it with you. My juicer, I love my juicer. I used to have one that was a hand press one, and it worked great for a while, but then I noticed because I usually press lemons and limes with it, so citrus, and citrus is very acidic. And so what started happening is the outside started peeling, and I was worried that when I'm juicing it, chemicals or something was getting into the juice I was putting into my own food. So got rid of that, and I decided to use this instead. So this stands up to the acid very, very well. I love this because specifically it has ounces on one side and milliliters on one side, and then it also has tablespoons and cups. So if your recipe calls for a tablespoon, you can actually see how much you have in here. This is definitely cheap and a wonderful little thing to have, and it catches all the pulp nicely and the seeds, which is great. No kitchen is complete without utensils, and you certainly have seen this in all of my videos sitting right next to my stove, which is where they belong, and I go through these anytime I cook, easily. One of my favorite ones is the small spatula, which is basically for jars, and you just scoop out everything you need right on here. It just makes it easier than using a knife, and I would always, especially if I'm using mayonnaise, if I used a knife, I'd be getting mayonnaise on my hand because I'm trying to get the last bits, but this takes care of that for you. Also, I can't say enough about tongs. You can flip meats with this. You can stir up sauces with them. You can do pretty much anything with the tong. Highly recommend these. And I have a lot of silicone because I cook a lot with my nonstick pans. They're perfect for it. I try not to use the silicone when I'm dealing with my cast iron. I worried that it's going to get a little too hot for them. So I use metal when I'm dealing with my cast iron. Now, if you're talking about my Dutch oven, I'm using silicone. I use my wooden spoons for when I'm doing sauces and soups, just for tasting, for stirring, whatever I need. All right, here are my honorable mentions. First up, my mini food processor. I love this guy. It is perfect for chopping up small batches of, say, pesto or salsa. It is wonderful, and there's not a whole lot to clean once you're done with it. Next, I've got my blender. I love my blender. However, I'm not using it as much as I have in the past, although it's great to have on hand because when I'm making a big batch of soup and I've got to puree it, it's just nice to have, and I can just turn to. However, what I'm finding what's taking its thunder, stealing its thunder, is my Cuisinart stick blender. I absolutely adore this. I use it for soups and sauces, and for just if I need to puree anything. It's very easy. It takes a little bit of time, but I do enjoy using it. Something I have, which whenever it makes its appearance, I always get comments and questions about where I got these at, and this is my salt and pepper grinders. My husband got them for me one Christmas. I do love them, and I use them, and we fill them up quite often. He'll have the link below for where he got these from. Next up is I have a mortar and pestle that I love using for when I'm making my own seasonings and some type of rub that I'm doing, because this gives me more control. I can make it as fine as I want, and it really does give you the feel that you're making something homemade. If you can't or don't want to use a mortar and pestle, you can use a coffee bean grinder, and this is my Krups, and I love it. I use it quite a bit, especially if I'm in a rush, especially around the holidays, I'm giving rubs away as a Christmas present. I'll pull this guy out because, my God, it can just go through quite a bit in a short period of time. And the easy way to clean this, because this doesn't come apart to clean, because it is basically for coffee. What I do is I just put some kosher salt in here, run it, and that cleans it easily, and just wipe it down with a paper towel. Perfect. I hope that was really useful to you, especially if you're just starting out cooking keto and low carb. The tools aren't that different from regular cooking. And if you're cooking for yourself for the first time, I hope that was also valuable for you, so you get an idea of what you need. And you can start small. You don't need a whole lot. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money, but it gives you an idea, and hopefully that'll help you build up some confidence too. The other thing is, if you have a small kitchen, don't invest a whole lot of money in one-use items. I did that a long time ago, and I had to purge my kitchen. So I had a few items in there that are really only for one thing, like my juicer, but I use that over and over again. So that's really important. Those one-item tools really do just become clutter in your kitchen. And again, I'll have links below for most of the items that I showed you. If you happen to purchase any of them, a little bit of that will go towards the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, I'll see ya.